Hello and welcome to Wargamer Online, and today we're going to be looking at the Morathi Broken Realms book. Pretty excited about this. It's a fantastic book. I suppose you're all asking the question, where have you been? Well, where haven't I been? Very, very busy, unfortunately, with work. Jackie's back at university. That's why you've not seen any bat reps from us at the moment. And of course, now we're into season 2 of the lockdown. Only this time, Jack is trapped in Nottingham. Tantalizingly close to Warhammer World, but no longer able to access it, I don't think. So, good news is, though, I am actually, if not joined on video, but certainly in vocal spirit by the rest of the team. So we've got all 4 members of Wargamer Online on right now. So, etheric voice coming from the side. Jack, are you there?
Hello, yeah, I am here.
It's good to hear from you, man. Ready and wearing.
2 minutes away from the home world, but unfortunately the gates are closed.
I'm just turning Siri off because he's trying to get all excited. Liam, how about you, mate? Are you there?
I'm here, big boy. The painting gremlin's here, and he's ready to get back into the swing.
Excellent. And we're also joined by the Luke Morton. How are you, mate?
I'm alright. It's good to be on. It's been a while since the last come on.
It has been a while, but you're here now, and that's what counts. Okay, well, we've got the book in front of us, in spirit and in reality. We've just been having a little bit of a chat about it. I think what we're going to do is kind of each of us look through the rules of our favourite factions on this section. Talk about what it means for them. Are we happy? Are we unhappy? I think the answer is, if you want to just skip to the end now, pretty happy about most of this. It's a damn good book. We're not going to talk much about the background, only really in context of the rules, I think, at this point. I do want to come back and do a separate show, which is kind of more about the campaign side of things and the story behind the campaign. But we'll touch on it a little bit today, but I'm also conscious that otherwise the show is quite long because we've got quite a lot of new rules to cover as well. So what we're going to do is work through one at a time, bring up the guys to chat about their favourite changes, and then we'll no doubt get into a rambling argument about the whole damn thing. Right, let's jump into this. Okay, Jack, Zainthar Kai. I mean, we've got to say, Daughters of Kane is your bag, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my little baby. So this Zainthar Kai, I'm going to pronounce it as for now, is a new temple that's been released, which is really cool. Will it ever replace my lovely old Hagnar? Who knows? That's remaining to be seen. But it definitely has its own quite niche scenario.
Okay.
So this temple is all about the Scathborn, so the Melusai and the Harpies, all the snake ladies. So if you like running armies like that, then this one's going to be for you. First of all, you get +1 bravery to all your Melusai and Harpies, which, hey, who cares about, because you're going to be getting witch brews constantly. But, hey, it might do something, I doubt it, but that's not what's really good about this. You get Vault of the First Blood, which means an additional hero can take an artifact. And there are some actual crispy artifacts in Daughters of Kane. So that's actually quite good. The command ability, spend a command point and you can give a unit +1 attack, a Melusai or Kinare unit +1 attack, which is very, very good when in combat, when you combine it with Morathi's rule, which we'll get onto earlier. This is insane. You can get snakes doing witch elf level of damage output, which we can never complain about.
Yeah.
And then you get Curse of the Bloody Hand as a command trait. Roll the dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of the general on a 5+. They do more which it's not bad if you've got it like on an iron scale. That's quite cool. If you slam her in there, that's an extra D3 mortal wounds on top of her. Then 1 mortal wound she does as well with her touch. You're getting like D3 +1 mortal wounds if you're like hero sniping with her. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think it's a interesting temple. For me, I don't know if it will replace Hagnar. I might play around with it a bit. I do want to with the new what's it called? Pain and Gain box set that came out. I think it's like Pain and Shadow, isn't it? That's what it's called.
It's
with
definitely
the new
Pain and Gain
Shadow
now.
box set with more snakes in there. I want to build 5 more of the archers so I can do a Temple Nest battalion. And I think that will fit quite nicely into you kind of got Morathi with all the snakes. It's a really nice aesthetic that some people have gone with. So I think it will play quite well for the those guys that like that aesthetic.
Yeah, sure.
The Warscroll battalions. The Daughters of Kane have never had the best Warscroll battalions. I think Temple Nest is the one that everybody takes if you're kind of running a snake army. Other than that, you don't really bother with it because, you know, it's a battalion or another Hag Queen, and you know which one you're going to take. So this, I don't know if it's changed it that much. We've got the Viperic Guard, which is Morathi in her 2 forms, a Medusa or an Iron Scale, and 2 units of Blood Sisters or Blood Stalkers. And what that does is once per battle, a hero from this battalion can use a command ability without spending a command point.
Yeah.
If you're taking this army with the temple we just looked at earlier, the Zenith K, I don't think battalions are going to be that important because you already get the extra artifact from the Blood Vault, and you know Hag Queens aren't that combat oriented, so they're probably not going to benefit from too many artifacts. And because this battalion's only once per battle, a hero can use their command. But if it was like every turn a hero could use it, then I'd be like, yeah, this is amazing. But considering it's once per battle, it's like, do I really want to spend my points on that when I could get some other stuff? So you know, maybe there's something in there. Who knows? It gets Morathi in a battalion, which is cool. The Scaff Coven, which is a Medusa, 1 to 4 Blood Sisters, 1 to 2 Blood Stalkers, and 2 units of Harpies, is do not take battle shocks for this battalion, which again, with Witch Brews being the state that they are, ignoring battle shock, I don't think that's going to come into play much. So again, it kind of seems like a redundant battalion. You'll be taking that for the command point and the artifact, which, you know, you could argue is useful, but I don't know. And then finally, the Shrine Guard is 2 Bloodrack Shrines, which if anybody has 2 Bloodrack Shrines out there, fair play to you.
Kudos.
And then 2 units of Blood Sisters units or Blood Stalkers in any combination, and 2 units of Harpies in any combination. And for this, it is kind of like a cool thing. You get this blood sacrifice where in your hero phase, you can pick a number of units from this battalion that are within 6 inches of the Bloodrack Shrine from the same battalion. 1 model from each unit is slain, and you can heal 1 wound to a Bloodrack Shrine for each Harpy unit, or 2 wounds for each Melusai model that was slain.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the Bloodrack Shrines are actually, their stare attack can be horrific against big units, and their Aura of Agonies are very good if they've got a bunch of 1 wound models close to each other. So keeping those shrines topped up is quite good. Doing it at the cost of your own things is interesting. If it was kind of a mechanic round where if you killed people, it feels like if anybody dies, you can choose who to sacrifice, then it would be cool. Again, with this one, I'm kind of 50-50 because I'm having to sacrifice my own models, and Kane are already quite elite when it comes to the snakes as it is. You kind of don't want to be losing those models because you want as much punch as possible. And it's quite a heavy investment to have 2 shrines in your army. You normally don't really want to take more than 1. So again, I think this is kind of more of a thematic thing than a competitive thing. You know, a lot of the time battalions are, I mean, there's a couple of battalions out there which are always like, yeah, I must take them. But with Daughters of Kane, they've never had that, and I still don't think they have that. So...
Okay. I'll tell you what, why don't we jump into the Warscrolls themselves, though?
Yeah, because this is where it gets exciting.
Yeah, and, you know, this is attached to a slight shift in lore as well, isn't it? So, yeah, let's jump into that. Okay, let's jump into the big one, really, for me. Morathi - Kane and the Shadow Queen. What's going off here?
Yeah. So, you know, if anybody knew Daughters of Kane or even kind of had a idea of what they were like before this book was released. Morathi had this really cool rule where she started off in her mini form, and as she got angrier, she would transform into a big form, which was really cool aesthetically. But all that meant is you had the little form on for one turn, then you transformed her into a big form as soon as you could.
Sneaky move forward over your unit.
That was the best thing to do. Now, yeah, you got that sneaky move forward. Now the laws kind of shifted a bit. Now her soul's been cleaved in half, and half of her soul's in her young regal self, and half of her soul's in her hideous, monstrous, Slanesh tainted self. So you have both of these units on the table at the same time, which on one hand I'm kind of sad about because she had that really cool lore, how she got angry and transformed. On the other hand, I'm also glad because you would spend so much time painting this beautiful model, which Morathi Kane was.
And it was more or less a token. Yeah.
Wings. Yeah, and she was just a token. She would be on there for like 10 seconds and you throw her off as soon as you can to throw the big girl down. Which was sad because the little Morathi was actually really powerful, and she still is. She's a 3-cast wizard at +1 to cast. Unfortunately, she's lost her double the range of all spells from the last edition, but her signature spell, the Black Horror of Ulgu, is now a 36-inch range. So she's kept it for her signature spell. She's lost it for the other spells, which is okay. Like I said, she's a 3-cast wizard, a 2-spell deny. She can add 1 to casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls, which is really cool. She's got a bit of combat prowess with Heart Render, 3 attacks at D3 damage, 6 attacks with her bladed wings at 1 damage.
Yeah, 3s and 3s, both of them having rend,
Yeah, she's got this. She's still got commanding presence, so she subtracts 1s to hit roll because she's like really pretty and people like looking at her, which is cool. It's always good to have a -1 hit on target. And then the new rule, which is 1 soul, 2 bodies, which is saying that they both have to be on the battlefield at the same time, and any wounds that Morathi Kane takes, she doesn't actually take. They get transferred to the Shadow Queen model.
Yeah.
In addition, if the spell that would remove her from play, you just transfer 3 wounds to Shadow Queen, and as Shadow Queen slain, so is she. So she's almost, for lack of a better word, an immortal object on the table, which is awesome, because if you've got like a unit of 30, you can just throw her in on her own and she'll just sit there be like taking no wounds and just like killing people, and it's just this big tie-up.
I mean, a Warscroll does have a wound stat. It puts her in at 6 wounds, but presumably that's just for rules that require
people.
Yeah, exactly. Rules that require to understand the target's wound count. Like we were talking about with the Achillean, whether it had got 1 or more wounds, etc. So it makes sense, but the reality is those 6 wounds never come into play. You are always tallying down the 12 wounds of the Shadow Queen, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got her command ability still, Worship Through Bloodshed. It's gotten... So it used to be, if she was the general of the army, she could pick 2 Daughters of Cain units in the hero phase to fight. Now it's only 1 unit of Daughters of Cain, but she can use it without being the general, which is amazing, because now you can pick somebody else as your general to get a command trait and still use this extremely powerful command ability, because Daughters of Cain are insane in combat, and now if you can attack in hero phases, that's going to be great. That's like 2 rounds of fighting back to back if you get the double turn. So it's really good. As well, the thing is, the Shadow Queen never had that rule, so like I said, when you just transformed her instantly, you lost that.
Yeah.
Now you've kind of got that all the time because she's always going to be on the table.
And even worse, you can grant it to the Shadow Queen.
Quite a large bubble.
Yeah. And the idea of the Shadow Queen going in on attacks on a hero phase and then still having a combat phase ahead is terrifying. Okay, well, let's have a look at the Shadow Queen.
So let's...
Significant shift here?
Yeah, let's jump into her. She's changed. Yeah, I mean, there's been a bit of change, which is nice. So she's still 12 wounds, still a 4-up save with Bravery 10 and a 14-inch wound on her top bracket, which is cool. Her Missile Gaze is now a 2s to hit, 3s to wound, -3 when D6 damage, which is really good because it used to be a roll above wounds characteristic and removed from play, which normally only meant that like one model from a 1 wound unit would be removed from play. It was never it never had that much of an impact. I like how they're now turning those rules into just D6 damage stairs.
Yeah,
it still makes sense if she goes up against a giant, and she does her stare attack, she's still going to turn a part of it to stone with her gaze. It's not just she has to turn the whole...
Like it's hand or something. I mean, and on 2s and 2s, 2s to hits, 2s to wound, -3 rend. It's got a damn good chance of being an active part of the game, hasn't it? You're really only looking out on the ones.
18-inch range.
Yeah. Wow.
18-inch range instead of 6-inch range, which it was last time, so can't complain at that.
Mm-hmm.
Her attack stats have gotten a lot better now. Heartrender now starts off at 8 attacks and goes down to 4.
God. Okay.
So used to start off on 6 attacks and go down to 2, which my problem with Morathi was she bracketed so harshly. When she got down to half wound, she wasn't very good.
Yeah, you always used to say you only really had half a model, didn't you? It was that first half of the wound she was effective, and then after that she was just a lump on the table. Whereas now, I mean, only dropping down to 4 attacks as well. It's not really bottoming out that much, is it?
Yeah, especially when Heart renders 3/3s -2/3 damage.
Oh goodness!
Which is 8 attacks at that, and especially with Daughters of Kane with all their rerolls.
Yeah,
it's going to be
vile.
Insane.
That's a no thank you from me.
Yeah. The Crown of Serpents has changed now. It's now 2d6 attacks at 3/3s, no rend, 1 damage.
What was it before?
Attacks.
Oh, okay, 5 attacks,
5
right?
attacks. So on average, you're better.
7.
On average, you're getting 7, but
yeah.
There's always that chance for a double 1. But then again, there's always that chance for a double 6. Which, if she's like mind razored up and then you roll the double 6 and you're doing like 12 attacks at 2 damage, sweet. Nobody's going to complain at that apart from your opponent, I guess. But hey,
I'll just complain watching it.
Her tail now is still 1 attack, 3/3s, -2. Starting off at 6 damage, but what I really like now and how they've kind of been shifting, which is really good, is it goes 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 instead of like 6, D6, D3.
Yeah, you're just chipping off 1 at a time per bracket.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. Movement, actually, I think goes down probably, of all of them, probably gets the most hit, from 14-inch to 6-inch, but, even so.
But, what I really like it. I always had Morathi. She's my favourite model in all of AOS, and she's part of my favourite army. And I always enjoyed doing that first slam with her, but then she just chipped down to nothing, and then it was just frustrating. You've got this, you got this demigod on the table with the heart of the god of war, and she's just like bouncing off things, and you're like, oh. Whereas now she's got that staying power.
And the opportunity as well to go in there, do 1 round of combat and really hurt something quite bad, and if it's foolish enough to have survived that round of combat to then or to have received a charge, and you've taken some damage but then they've taken a lot of damage, and then you can use your hero phase to just finish that unit off and be able to select another target, is just vile, especially if she's still pushing out that heart render attacks.
Yeah. So I was going to say, her abilities have changed a little bit now. She's got this Fury of the Shadow Queen, which is while she's within 3 inches of enemy models. Melusai and Kinare Harpies that are wholly within 18 of this model now get +1 attack.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
In that with the new Templing, you can get like Scathborn on up to 5 attacks and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. That'd make anybody smile. Yeah.
She's still got kind of... Oh, yeah. They've copied and pasted the 2 bodies, 1 soul rule over there, just so you're kind of aware of it on her profile.
Interestingly enough, they have changed it slightly.
She's still got the Iron Heart of Kane.
Yeah, the other one's called 1 soul, 2 bodies, whereas that rule is called 2 bodies and 1 soul. I just want to highlight that change. They reversed the title. It's cool. It's cool.
Oh, no, that's upset me, Dan.
Sorry, carry on anyway.
The Iron Heart of Kane has changed a bit, which was her kind of key thing from the old edition, where she can only take 3 wounds every turn. That is still the case. She can only take 3 wounds and/or mortal wounds every turn. And once 3 wounds and/or mortal wounds have been allocated to her, the rest are negated. They've clarified it in the rule now that says any further wounds or mortal wounds. Any further mortal wounds or mortal wounds that would be allocated to this model are ignored and have no effect.
Yeah.
Well, wounds
at the start.
They've said as well, which is a lot better.
Mm.
Yeah, wounds at the start of the battle round count towards the number of wounds allocated to this model on the first turn of that battle round. So no more endless spell sniping Morathi down, because that was just depressing when that happened.
Yep.
And things that happen at the end of the battle round now carry over to the next one as well. And anything that would cause her to be slain doesn't actually slay her, it just allocates 3 wounds to her.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I think that was the intent of that rule all along, and then people, of course, found a way around it to a degree, didn't they? With the, like you said, with the endless spells,
but
etc.
Then they kind of just panic clarified it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Sorry, the thing I was trying to say and couldn't find it is they've now clarified it in the rules that you don't count wounds that she ignores through her Daughters of Kane ability. So her 6-up ignore, if you do ignore them, that doesn't count towards the wounds allocated to her.
Right, okay then. So you do a bunch of wounds, you allocate 3, she ignores one of them. In theory, you can still do another wound on her later on in that turn. Yeah, she can still take another wound. Right, okay, cool. Nice clarification. You can tell they needed to clarify that. It's a stack of 3 long paragraphs. Well, the 4th being wounds allocated cannot be healed. But good, because like I say, the reality is this means she's around for a good proportion of the game, no matter how hard you work at it. Yeah. And therefore, so is Morathi-Kane. Okay, nice. A nice, reliable, survivable 3-spell wizard. Yeah. Okay. Anything else in there? I think after that we're at the end of that. So, sorry, go on, Liam.
Yeah.
These new rules both haunt the table and my dreams. I'm never going to see Jack without Morathi now.
No,
I don't want to happen.
I'm so looking forward to our next battle. I mean, I'm looking forward to our next battle anyway. It'd be great to have Jack home for a game, but it's going to be interesting. We're going to see Iden of Deepkin versus Daughters of Kane. It's going to get vile, isn't it? Let's face it. Okay, moving on. Okay, next up, Liam, Jack. We've got Cities of Sigmar, 3 cities battle trait. Looks like there's a couple of new cities in there. You can choose from Misthaven or Harkonnen. Yeah, essentially that just replaces choosing one of the other city allegiance abilities. The standard terms and conditions apply if you choose a character and they have an ability from another keyword, then that they can't use that, they can't access that. But for all intents and purposes, that's in the book anyway, isn't it? So, you're right. Okay, we've got a couple of things to look at. We've got a shadow host to look at.
Yes. That's the new battalion, isn't it? It's the new box set.
Sorceress on Black Dragon, a Dreadspear unit, and a Dark Shard unit.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt's going to be happy, Jack.
Yeah, Kurt's going to be happy. Well, I say that he's already bought all his dragons and dark shards, and I told him, and he was like, It seems quite straightforward, this one. Very similar to the other battalions that are in this book. It's kind of all about this named sorceress in the battalion with a kind of bit of extra scattered in there. So what have you got? In your hero phase, a sorceress from this battalion is on the battlefield. You can declare she will compel her minions to attack savagely. If you do so until your next hero phase, add 1 to attack characteristics of weapons used by Dread Spears and Dark Shards. It's not shabby, +1 attack, but subtract 1 to save rolls. Feels more shabby now. I think that's especially good on Dark Shards who are at the back of the board. You know, they go to like 4 shots each now or something.
And they're unlikely going to need that save, so you're absolutely right.
Like, 30 of them, that's like 120 shots they're pumping out.
And there's a command trait in there at the start of the hero phase. In your first battle round, you receive 1 extra command point. I'll always say yes to a command point.
Fine.
Right, Jack. Let's have a look at Misthaven. I've allocated a city to either of you. Jack's going to have a look at Misthaven. Liam's going to pick up Harkonnen. So, Misthaven, mate. Battle traits. Anything in there that jumps out? Well, the army must be from Uglu.
Interesting stuff. You can't...
Or Ulgu.
Yeah,
we've got to say that.
Cities of Sigmar are always like that. It's cool now that we've got some cities from the Realm of Shadows, so getting more kind of realms in there, which is nice. So more design opportunities that I can see an entire army made out of the Corvus Cabal, all the crows people.
Yeah.
Hooded outfits and stuff like that. The thing with this army is they can use model units with up to 10 models, and place them in outflank. They can come on from the battlefield edge more than 9 inches away from enemy models, which is cool. You kind of got that board presence. What makes it really good is the command ability. Means that if they come on from the side, you can move them up to D6 inches. So
that's a once per turn ability, though. So it's only one of the units you bring on, but even so, that's still pretty cool.
Do that. But if you bring on something big from the side, then you could have only a 3-inch charge rather than a 9-inch charge. It makes it a lot more reliable. But I can definitely see people, running like Shadow Warriors, Sisters of Avalon, kind of archer units, darting them all around the side, being able to pick off characters from the back, which is really cool.
Yeah.
You've also got this narcotics, which your heroes can now pick narcotics, which is quite cool. So if you go over, you can see them there. They're like a new, almost mount traits, but for heroes. So mount traits without needing a mount, let's say. A lot of them are a once per game use, so +1 to hit, heal up to D6 wounds from the Skiffer Slave. You can fly for a turn, which is really cool. I just like the idea of this sorceress just floating up into the air for a while. Adding 1 to casting and stuff like that. So
and ignore modifiers when making saves. It's all pretty interesting stuff, isn't it? So the mechanic for that, then, one hero in a Misthaven army can have a Misthaven narcotic. Choose a hero to have the narcotic. Pick from or roll from the temptation table and choose one additional hero to have a Misthaven narcotic for each Warscroll. Hero cannot have more than one narcotics. In the hero phase, you declare a hero with a Misthaven narcotic will use it. Each narcotic can be used only once per battle. So it's that once per battle little boost, isn't it? As he takes a little power up. He's all sorted for ease and whiz. He downs a bit of float and off he goes with a fly keyword.
Big heroes and stuff.
Can I just say, though, taking drugs and believing you can fly is a bad idea. If that's the case, if you have taken drugs and you think you can fly, try taking off from the ground. Yeah, try taking off from the ground as opposed to jumping off something tall. That has always been the safest way to go. Okay, next up, sorry, Jack. Command traits. We've got.
I was going to say, I don't think there's some alright narcotics. I think, if you've got like this Dreadlord on a Black Dragon, giving them +1 to hit for a turn can be really good if you're like flying them in there and you're like, right, I need to do something this turn, so let's just do it. And you pop that, or the D6 heal can be good. The artifacts, there's some interesting ones. There's always the Shadow Silk Armor, which is +1 save rolls, which is always good.
Yeah.
Especially with a lot of the heroes having a 3-up save, so it goes to a 2-up save. But, it's pretty simple. Got this nice little mechanic where you can kind of make backstories for your heroes if you're into that stuff. And make them a bit more personal with these combat stims. It feels very Dark Eldar-y.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like it. It's good fun.
You can see the inspiration.
It's a little bit of unique stuff that's not game-breaking, but interesting and fun, and a little injection into the game. No pun intended there. Just to add a bit of, something different mid-game or something, By the way, the salve, the idea of rubbing some ointment on and healing D6 wounds is just, it's great, isn't it? I think it's just...
Yeah, you just got some E45 if you got some chapped skin from a fireball or something. Rub a bit of aloe vera on there.
My granny used to swear by St James's balm, so there you go. Maybe it's nothing more than a bit of St James's balm.
Morathi's balm. Distilled from the blood of snakes or something.
Command traits in there. We got once per battle. The general can use Shadow Strike. Wily Foe. Roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound on the general. On a 6-up, it's ignored. The Shade Wardlock. The general knows Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield spell and can attempt to cast one spell in your hero phase in the same manner as a wizard. If not, and this is what we're seeing in all of these now, +1 spell to the wizard hero. Yeah. So it's all good fun. It's all good fun. A couple of artifacts of power in there. Gloom Bell, a Strangler Kelp Noose, Shadow Silk Armor. Well, you've covered the Shadow Silk Armor, haven't you? But, the Gloom Bell, once per battle at the start of your enemy's shooting phase, you can say that the bearer will ring the Gloom Bell. If you do so until the end of your phase, that's the last orders for the current lockdown. Oh no, wait, sorry, that's something else. Subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks that targets units wholly within 12 inch. Little lockdown joke there for you all. Liam, curran.
Now, this one's quite an interesting one. It's based in the realm of fire, and it can only include Darkling Covens, Order Serpentis, Scourge Privateers, and Shadow Blades. You can't use the free people battle traits from the battle tome Cities of Sigmar, and like how they are in free cities, you get 1 in every 4 units being a Daughters of Kane unit.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, one of the Daughters of Kane priests get an additional prayer, which is if the prayer is successful, this is called Incitement to Murder. Pick 1 friendly Harkieran unit within 12 inches of the priest. So that's any of the other elf stuff. So you can have Black Dragon, for example, until the start of your next hero phase. An unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 2 hits instead of 1, and then you roll it separately like the exploding hit slot for Demonettes. So that's pretty nice.
Wow.
So you're telling me not only can I terrorize people with Morathi and my Daughters of Kane army, I can now terrorize people with Morathi and my Cities of Sigmar army.
You can indeed.
I'm all for it. This is the Jack approved stamp.
This is not okay, people. What he's talking about shouldn't be made legal.
The 30 Witch Elves in my Cities of Sigmar army, supported by 30 Handgunners, I'm all for it.
No.
I'm going to eat that up.
No, don't do this, people. Don't do this. They've got a nifty command ability. So you can use this command ability at the start of the battle shock phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Harkieran unit, wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Harkieran hero. 1 model in that unit is slain. However, in the phase, you do not need to take a battle check tests for friendly Harkieran units, wholly within 18. So it makes a whole battle immune aura.
Insane.
So if you sacrifice a dark elf dude with a shield, and just go, nope.
Nice.
Which is pretty nice, but you've got all the but you don't have access to the prayers, come to think of it, because you can only get them in the Allegiance Daughters of Kane, can't you? So
you can't take Daughters of Kane things, but I mean the best prayer out of all of them is Mind Razor, which does exactly the same as the prayer they've given there, so we can forgive them.
That's the one you want anyway.
Nice, actually.
Okay. What about...
So we've got 3 command traits there, which are pretty nice. There's add 1 to this general's wound characteristic, so that'll be pretty nice on a dragon.
Bathed
in addition,
in
your hero phase, you can deal 1 wound allocated to the general.
Nice.
That's for the first one.
Nice bit of Morathi's
the second one's Murderous Zeal. This general can attempt to use the Incitement to Murder prayer in the same manner as a priest. If the general can already attempt this prayer, it can attempt it twice, which is quite nice. Especially if you've got multiple blocks which else that Jack's probably thinking of.
I somehow feel that the book titled Morathi seems to be quite good for Morathi.
I don't like it. I don't like this Morathi book at all.
The General knows, so we got Dark Adept. The General knows the Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield spells. Again, this is just +1. You're making either a non-wizard a wizard or giving an extra cast to a wizard. Okay. A couple of relics in there. Life Taker.
That's a 36-inch range. You pick an enemy unit in the shooting phase. It's surprisingly long range for some reason. On a 1 to, you roll a dice. On a 3 to 5, the unit suffers a mortal wound. On a 6+, it suffers D3 mortal wounds.
It's not. So it's not great, but you know that annoying character that survived on 1 wound. That's 36 inches away. It's just bagger off.
Yeah, I was going to say 36 inches. Very. If you kind of like combo it with Morathi's Black Horror, then you could snipe a 5-wound character in the first.
It is visible though, so line of sight's needed. You know, it's not a spell, so it's you got to get the visibility across 36 inch, but it's possible. Anyway,
you're right on the dragon that can fly.
Traitor's Banner. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons that target friendly units wholly within 12 inch.
I like that one a lot.
Giddy nonsense. I don't like anything that does that kind of nonsense. And then the Nullstone Vizard. A bearer on this battlefield at the start of your hero phase. Roll a dice on a 5+. You receive an extra command point. No harm, no foul for extra command points. You know I'm a big fan of them. What about the spells, Liam?
I've picked 2 of them that I like the looks of the most out of all of them. And it's the first one on the table, the Sap the Strength. Mm-hmm. It's got a casting value of a 6, so it's relatively low. It's successfully cast. Pick 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster that is visible to them. Subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until the start of your next hero phase. So stuff that's like quite hitting on 4s, for example, and that can do high damage outputs, you're just kind of shutting down or making them go on 5s, even if it's like multiple units of a shooting attack and a melee attack. So it's pretty nice.
Nice, yeah. You mentioned one other.
And then we've got the Steed of Shadows, which is also a casting value of a 6. If successfully cast until your next hero phase, the caster can fly and has a move characteristic of 16. So
that's ridiculous.
Look at my horse.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, because I think you were saying, Liam, I think Curran used to be Anvil Guard, didn't it?
Yeah.
And Morathi's kind of taken it over. So this spell lore is actually a mix of Anvil Guard spells and Daughters of Kane spells.
Yeah.
So Sap Strength and Vitalic Spray are from Anvil Guard, and the other... and I think Shadow Daggers were as well. Then Withering Pit of Shades and Steed of Shadows is from Daughters of Kane. I know because my mate was wanting to do an Anvil Guard army. He was looking at Vitalic Spray being very powerful. It's casting value of 8, which is high, but sorceresses have ways of getting their spells quite powerful. And if you can cast this through a spell portal, because the range is only 6 inches, you pick a unit and they have a save characteristic of dash, so they lose their save. And then if you have like a unit of 30 Dark Shards, which unload 120 shots into that unit, they're just going to get removed from the table.
Oh, man.
The downside to Dark Shards is having no rend, but it doesn't matter if you don't have a save, so they can just absolutely decimate units off the board. It is insane.
So, and again, we've not talked much about the background of the campaign, but that's quite interesting. We're now getting to a stage in Age of Sigmar where you can play a city in 2 different states. You can play it pre-Broken Realms as Anvil Guard, or post or during the Broken Realms of Curran. Yeah, you know, I really like that idea of being able to choose a different part of the timeline, if you like, and you know, apply that to your army's aesthetic. That's cool. That's really nice. Okay. Okay, Jack, Stormcast Eternals. Some interesting shifts here.
Yeah, so they have this in the old way to play. It was the Legends of the Living Tempest, it was called. Now, these are the Stormcast that ride the lightning bolts from Sigmar's realm down to the battlefield. They have that really cool, like, you know, shock down with the lightning. The new way is the Celestial Sentinels now. These are the Stormcast that have been in the mortal realms for quite a while now. They garrisoned up in the 3 cities of Sigmar and they're trying to protect it. You still get to choose all your storm hosts like you normally would, but you don't get the lightning strikes anymore, the teleports. What you get now is this Shield of the Civilization, which is +1 bravery for Stormcast Eternals, whilst the Holy Land 12 of Liberators, which is nice because Stormcast, for whatever reason, Games Workshop, I'm sure you have your reasons, have really low bravery. So it can be quite painful when you're losing models from that. So it's a nice kind of boost there. And they also get, Liberators also get this ability where if they don't move, they can add one to their hit and save rolls, which is nice because the rise of like Sequitors and all that nonsense, the Liberators have fallen out of fashion. So maybe this will push them back into the limelight a little bit. And, you know, you can just plonk them on an objective when they're like 3-up save, re-rolling ones. They're quite tough to get rid of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my bit I've taken from the Stormcast thing is the Mortal Auxiliaries. This is really nice because the whole aspect of free cities is 1 in every 4 unit is a Stormcast Eternal unit. So this is the exact opposite. So 1 in every Stormcast Eternal units can be a free cities unit. And the benefit to this is all of the command traits from a Stormcast general from these different storm keeps can apply to those units. So your shoot cast lists that have got all these Vanguard stuff in, can have Sisters of Avalon, can have steam tanks, can have anything shoot you from free cities and just buff it up completely with Stormcast rules.
Yeah, I can't.
Really nice.
Yeah, that could be pretty vile. The fact they gain, don't they, from the command abilities and stuff, I think is really nice. They're an integrated part of the army. Battalion-wise, Jack, is there anything you wanted to pick up on?
The one I quite liked is the Storm Tower Garrison, which is like a Knight Vexilla, 2 unit Liberators, some Paladins, and some Justicar units. And what they get is the Paladins and Justicars can use the Shield of Civilization trait like the Liberators can. So one of the problems with Paladins, whilst they hit so hard, they were kind of a bit flimsy. So now with them getting +1 hit and save, it takes them to a 3-up save, which is, you know, decent by all standards in Sigmar.
Absolutely, and doing a hell of a lot of damage. Yeah, cool. Liam?
My favourite battalion was Wardens of the Stormkeep. So this is all of your heroes that aren't on Dracoths, and because you can't include any monsters for them to be riding. So you have 1 Lord Celestant and 2 to 5 other Stormcast Eternal heroes. So your general gets a bonus to at the start of the hero phase, roll 1 dice for each of these heroes. On a 5-up, you get an additional command point, and this is in the first hero phase. But if it's your general rolling for it, he pluses 3 to the roll. So on a 2-up, you get 1 command point from him, and potentially 5 other dice. On a 5-up, you get another command point.
That's nice.
So
that's cool.
1 more.
Yeah, which I think can be quite useful in the shoot cast list. You know, if you're taking 2 units of 30 crossbowmen, you're going to want as many command points as possible to make them shoot in the hero phase, and you can just weigh down your enemy with just weight of dice there.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. It's not overloaded. This section's not overloaded with rules. There's no more battle scrolls, etc., war scrolls. But I think what really is nice...
it's a new way to play them.
Exactly, and that's what's really nice about these campaign packs on the whole. Okay, great. Right then, Luke. Looking at Iden of Deepkin, we both play Iden of Deepkin. We've both had our fun along the way. I think officially, I'm going to say you've probably been more successful with Iden of Deepkin than I have. You may have won a couple of tournaments along the way, but I have to say I think my army's prettier.
Just only a few tournaments.
Okay, let's talk about the changes to Iden of Deepkin then. Taking out the first thing, mount traits. So basically the rule is, if an Iden of Deepkin army includes a hero mounted on a deep mare, one of them can have a deep mare mount trait. If it includes a Leviathan, one of them can have a Leviathan mount trait. And you can choose 1 extra hero or Leviathan to have a mount trait for each Warscroll battalion in your army. So a hero or Leviathan cannot have more than 1 mount trait, and the same mount trait cannot be taken more than once in the same army. But even on the most basic of lists, you're unlocking a couple of mount traits here, aren't you? You're straight in with giving a deep mare mount trait and a Leviathan mount trait if you're including them, and there's the possibility of squeezing a couple more in along the way if you manage to get in the battalions. Saying that, there's only three mount traits to choose from, so don't go crazy on your battalions. Let's have a look at the Deep Mare mount traits. Which ones caught your eye?
Well, the Void Chill Darkness is obviously probably the most powerful one there.
Yeah.
For the Deep Mare.
So let's just cover that.
Especially with Volturnus has got the Deep Mare keyword on his Warscroll,
yeah.
So he can have a mount trait.
And it is quite rare you can modify a named character. So but as you said, he does have a Deep Mare, and this would give subtract 1 to hits for attacks made by enemy models that are within 3 inches of this model. And given Volturnus's mobility, and how you deploy him, that's quite effective, isn't it? Because it's hit rolls by enemy models that are within 3 inches.
Yeah, so it's not just a buff to him. It's if you combo charge, like say you combo charge a large model, like a giant or something, that giant is basically -1 to hit everything that's in combat with him.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's really fantastic about it is that
it's very powerful.
And we all know with the mobility of Iden of Deepkin, combo charging is something that isn't really that much of a stretch, is it? It's not that difficult to do, and in fact, it's pretty much the way you play them. Let's just quickly cover the other two, though. We've got the Swift-Finned Impaler. A roll of this model's Deep Mare Horn ability is a 6. It suffers D6 mortal wounds instead of 3. Once a game thing, but you never know. Sometimes you pull off those 6s, don't you? You can add 1 to the attack characteristics. Oh, this is Savage Ferocity. So this is +1 attack to the deep fanged jaws and talons, and its lashing tail, which is, that's not bad. It's +1 attack across its entire profile sheet. But as you said, it's the -1. The fact that it's not really a boost for this model. Decent. Yeah. Come on then. What's your pick for the Leviathan?
I mean, if Jack played Didenef, he'd have. Sorry, go back just quickly. If Jack played Didenef, he'd obviously pick the first one because he just rolls a 6 every single time he plays. So
yeah.
D6 more.
I mean, for the likes of Jack, anything that says on a 6 do something, incredible, then yeah, you're going to pick that every time. But for mere dice mortals like myself, no. But for me, that's a once every 3 game occurrence. I don't know how I can say that actually, because I was so lucky last time I played Iden of Deepkin. I can see Jack shaking his head off camera there. Okay then, the Leviathan mount traits. What's the one for you there? Do you want me to go? I'll go through them quickly. We've got the Ancient. Go on.
Yeah, so I think the Ancient one will probably do you best throughout all your games for like a tournament, but there's a couple that are pretty decent.
Okay, so if the weapon used to attack that target, this model has a rend characteristics of -1, the rend is reduced to blank. So it's one of those things. -1 rend can be quite an annoyance, isn't it? Because the vast majority of rend weapons tend to be around about 1, and that's what makes a lot of units effective. So you are just neutering a lot of units, and by the time you pass the -1 rend, you're in trouble anyway, and you probably should have picked your opponent better in terms of combat. Because again, the Leviathan's not a slow dude, is he? He's got a bit of mobility. Denizens of the Darkest Depths add 1 to the number of mortal wounds inflicted on each unit by this model's crushing charge ability. Means if you inflict 1 mortal wound on an enemy unit on a roll of 1. Nice.
Yeah, so that's nice as well. I mean, I can't remember whether his charge is every unit he charges into or just the one, because I know
I think you just. I'm pretty certain you just pick one,
so
but we can check that.
Might come into play.
We can check that.
It's each enemy unit within an inch on a 2+.
Yeah, for each enemy unit. So that's still really quite powerful.
Well, he does have a big old base, doesn't he? So yeah,
so you can like combo charge.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, and then we have. Sorry, go on.
To the Ancient. Just to go back to the Ancient, because of the scroll, as we're going to the scrolls, he's now got a 2-up save, so that makes that even more.
It's vulgar, mate.
Tasty, with the -1, ignoring -1 rend.
Can I just say, I was a fan of the Leviathan before the Leviathan was, funky. I just want to put it out there, I was using the Leviathan doing serious damage on +4 attacks. Before you know it became fashionable.
It's just like Volturnos.
Okay, we've also got...
Volturnos was all my idea, and then everybody else...
Oh, don't you start that. Reverberating carapace, he says, with a deal of reverb. Increase the range model's Void Drum from 12 to 15, which isn't bad given what the Void Drum now does. Let's talk a little bit about the Warscrolls then. Let's jump into it. And I want to be as swift as possible because we've got a lot to cover on that book. Alapexes, I don't think it's no secret if you followed any of the recent battle reports where I featured Iden of Deepkin. I consider them to be a 100-point tax on the army, but a cool model. Do you think that's changed?
Well, if we quickly go through, so the old scroll, they were movement 12, they're now movement 14, so that's a nice buff. His movement's really powerful. They've made it a bit more tidy with the attack, so they've got rid of the fins, but then increased the bites, damage output, and then give the guys an extra attack. And it's all 3s and 3s, so that just makes it a bit more tidier when you're playing.
Yeah.
The harpoon launcher is bonkers. It's got an ability that if you hit, it doesn't matter if you do any damage. It now doesn't let you retreat, pile in.
I'm utterly heartbroken by that.
That's a bonkers ability. It lets.
Yeah, I gave all 3 of my Alapexes the harpoon on nothing, on the net launcher rather, on nothing more than the aesthetics. I thought it looked cooler than the harpoon. So I'm super happy with that rules. It's like someone at Games Workshop looked at how I built my Alapexes and went, hey, this is a good idea. Let's make Phil a little bit happier.
But if you note, the harpoon is got an extra attack, and now it's got a rend. So even that's pretty decent for like chip damage.
Yeah,
especially where they've got the ability to get +1 attack if they do damage.
I know. I was jumping ahead to the net. I was jumping ahead to the net launcher. I was too excited. I'm never going to take a harpoon, but you fill your boots with them.
So yeah, it's gone up by 10 points as well. At the back of the book, it's 110 now. So, but yeah, I think it's a decent war scroll and allows you to not just spam ills if you want to be competitive at a tournament.
I mean, how important do you think? How important do you think the ability in the current meta of the game to deny pile-in? How important is that? I mean, it's a unit that has been hit by attacks. It's not wounded; it's successfully hit, and you are hitting on 3s with the net launcher. So you only really need 2 Alapexes targeting a unit to pretty much guarantee a hit.
I think in any other army that ability would be insane, but I think if you play Ideneth competitively and it's all about tagging like a screen and piling away and just board control. So it's not a massive deal, but it does allow for a different build. So in the eel build, the no piling is not a massive thing.
Yeah,
it does help a little bit, but the way that you play, you kind of tag in units and combo charge in, so it doesn't. The piling, they can't really pile in anyway. But in like a thrall build or something like that,
exactly.
No piling is a big deal.
If you're relying on thralls to kind of hold objectives, and you've got units coming towards you as opposed to you controlling all of the movement. I think it has a role to play, but like you say, in the sort of top-end competitive list, because the eels haven't really changed, have they? Are you saying that nothing's really changed enough to make you want to, move completely away from eels? You're still going to see eels dominate the list, yeah?
I'm not sure. I've written a few lists. I think there's an Eidolon build. As we go further on, they've got cheaper. So Eidolon the Sea, you could do like a magic list, and you could do almost like a death resin list. But there's a few builds now, especially with all these point drops. Just another note on the shark: he's lost the monster keyword, so he would have been bonkers if he still had that, because of vocal points. You get extra points for monsters, but he has lost that.
Although, does he... Oh, actually, 8 wounds. I was going to say, does he gain the cover save? But,
he does, because it's 8 wounds or... It's
or less, isn't it? Yeah. A monster keyword, I always thought. It's the monster keyword that's the important point, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it gets cover now, turn 1. Just
Okay.
doesn't help you in that mission.
No, true. Okay, Eidolons. Let's look at the Eidolons, both aspect of Storm and Sea. Any salient points you want to pick out on these guys?
They've pretty much stayed the same stats-wise, apart from they've both gained like a 5-up ignore save, like a Vermin Lord.
Yeah.
And then they've just tidied up some of the rules, like the Storm has now gives out +1 to wound instead of reroll 1s to wound, which is really good.
Yeah.
I think the range of that ability's increased a bit, but apart from that, they've pretty much stayed the same.
Yeah, I think that 5-up ignore, it's enough. It's enough to make them more interesting for me, for sure. That's always been the survivability has been an issue, so I'm quite looking forward to seeing them on the table a bit more. And I'm not far off of completion on my models as well, which makes me pretty happy. So,
just another note: the Storm went down 30 points, and the Sea went down 50. And the Sea has a change as well, where it re-rolls to Dispel now, which is obviously really powerful.
Yeah, that's quite sweet. Okay, so when it talks about that, it's the cloying. Is it the cloying sea mist rule? No, that's the actual spell, isn't it? I'm trying to think. It's the dormant energies. Reroll casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for the model. If you do not reroll any casting or dispelling rolls of the model in your hero phase, you can heal up to D3 wounds at the end of the phase. I like the fact that's end of phase as well, so you can kind of make a judgment. Well, two things: if you get away without having to do the reroll, fantastic. You're carrying a D3 heal to the end of the turn. Or alternatively, if you know you're going to kind of be in a position of receiving some damage, maybe you're piling into combat or going into combat that phase with him. You can choose not to use a reroll, even if it fails a spell, knowing that you'd rather go for the D3 wounds. I think in most cases, though, a lot of the time you're playing off some kind of magic combo, aren't you? So having that reroll available, and as you said, then doubling it up and being useful for dispelling as well, I think is really good. Cool. Okay. We've also got the Leviathan.
Your baby.
My baby. I love the Leviathan, but it's a model love. It was never a stats love, unless you give it +4 attacks, of course. But gone are those days. Okay, so where are we at? Big changes for you, I think, as Jack pointed out. Crushing jaws. Sorry, no, it's on the charge now, isn't it? Roll a dice for any unit within 1 inch. Any enemy unit within 1 inch after it's finished its charge, and on a 2 plus its D3 mortal wounds. If it has a wound characteristic of 1, it suffers D6 mortal wounds instead of D3 mortal wounds. So, and that's the one that you can apply the ability to make that a 1-up. So you're guaranteed to just dish out. I mean, if you're hitting something pretty tough with multi-wounds, you're going in there and doing D6 mortal wounds on the charge, guaranteed. I think that's pretty cool. But what else?
It's just like that. Like Mortek Guard won't like that. You just charge in a couple of units of them and you're doing D6 plus 1 more wounds. Horrible.
You're right. Definitely. He says, laughing his head off, thinking about Liam's Mortek Guard. So I'm excited. Well, we've also got. Is there anything else to pick up on the Leviathan? There was a few changes, wasn't there? The Harpoon Launcher has gone up to 8 attacks from 6.
It's got a Ren now. It's saved now. The degenerates, but it's now got a 2-up save, so it goes like 2, 3, 4, 5 as it takes wounds. It's Crushing Jaws don't do 6 mortal wounds anymore. They got two jaws now. But so it's more reliable damage from the jaws.
And of course, the big point is the Void Drum is +1 save now. It's had 1 to save rolls as opposed to what was it before? I'm sure it was different before.
It just basically give you cover before, so now your ills have got a 2-up save turn 1, and your thralls your infantry can have a 3-up save.
Yeah.
And it also gives your Nomati +1 to hit. So that's why the aura ability is still not bad because Idoneth don't really like to be clumped up as a castle, so increasing that aura lets you spread out a bit more.
Absolutely.
It helps you with the infantry build, which is probably what you wanted to do, but it just wasn't viable, so now you can do your Thrall and Reaver build that you wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty excited about that. Well, other than the
You just need
daunting
a couple of
painting
turtles
challenge.
now, don't you?
Well, yeah, and a couple of months off work to get them painted, maybe. Okay. Last thing to look at then, we have the Blood Surf Hunt, the battalion. This is 1 Achelian King, and then 1 to 2 Achelian Alapex units. What this gives you is +1 to hit rolls for attacks made with barbed hooks and blades by the Alapex. If they're wholly within 12 inch of the king, of course. In addition, you roll the dice before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the king from this battalion if it's within 3 inch of any Alapex unit from the same battalion. And on a 2+, you must instead allocate the wound or mortal wound to one of those units. So you're passing wounds off. Alapexes aren't bad. They're on 8 wounds each. You could easily do a couple of units of 1, couldn't you, to kind of pass this off and give a nice little boost to your Achelian King. The question is how much does that cost? Can you remember? Just having a quick look here. It's 120 points.
The thing it is
120. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with all the battalions in this book, you'll see that they're more of the fluff. The fluff that's in this book. They all like kind of tailor towards that. So from a competitive side, you probably wouldn't take most of the battalions that are in this book.
But you might do it if you're essentially playing
as we go along and look through them.
But you might do it as you push through the campaign, basically. Yeah.
You want it for like the campaign or
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. It was certainly good fun to catch up with everyone. It's been a while. We will get some more content out. We've got a whole stack of reviews to do. I've got a big box set of Army paints come through, a full mega set that we're going to be taking a look at. We're also going to be looking at some Kickstarter models, and we're also going to be deep diving into some Games Workshop apparel, clothing and stuff like that. I can't remember the proper name for the word, but we've received a great box of those stuff as well. And sorry guys, it's all my armies, so I'd love to share it with you, but it's literally all for me. So right, I just want to thank everyone for coming along tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show, and of course not to forget my etheric voices from the world beyond. Jack, thank you for coming, mate.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
Liam, it was good to catch up with you, sir.
Guys.
Yeah, missing you, big man.
Back.
And Luke. Thanks.
Yeah, cheers, guys. It's good to catch up again, and hopefully we do it a bit more often together.
I hope so. Let's get a few more videos out. Okay, hope you enjoyed it all, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.